Minecraft, a game of creativity, freedom, and endless possibilities. Unless you're me. See now, I'm not creative, like, at all. So, to avoid this problem, I decided to just beat Minecraft. All 122 achievements, which includes beating the Ender Dragon, finding the rarest item in the game, and even having every single in-game effect applied to you at once. All in hardcore Minecraft. I started things off by creating a new world, naming it Fortnite, and hopping right in. Like most worlds, I immediately chopped down a tree, which I crafted into a crafting table to get my first achievement. I made a pickaxe, got Stone Age, and used that stone to get an upgrade. I made some basic tools and killed a cow to get the adventure achievement, followed shortly by a rampaging baby zombie that emerged from a nearby cave and almost ended this run early. However, I did end up killing it for Monster Hunter. I gathered some wood and then slaughtered some innocent animals for food. In a stroke of luck, I found a ruined portal and village right next to each other. The ruined portal gave me obsidian for Ice Bucket Challenge, and enough iron nuggets to craft an iron ingot, which gave me the Acquire Hardware achievement. Since I was still pretty low from the baby zombie, I ate some food, granting me the Husbandry achievement. I made a shield from the iron, finished looting the village, and when it turned night, I used my shield to block a skeleton's arrow, giving me, "Not today, thank you." I then found a cave, called it home, placed my beautiful red bed down, and had some sweet dreams. When I awoke, I started exploring the cave, mining and smelting iron along the way en route to getting Isn't It Iron Pick by crafting none other than an iron pickaxe. I soon had gathered enough iron for iron armor, which gave me the Suit Up achievement. Then, much to my surprise, I found an ancient city, which terrified me enough to keep me away. Regardless, I found diamonds, getting the very appropriate Diamonds achievement. I snuck past a skulk sensor to get Sneak 100, and then immediately ran away in fear. I then found diamonds in a quite poetic place, directly beneath a minecart and a mineshaft. Like, what are the chances? My carefulness soon deteriorated, as I set off a skulk shrieker, which, by the way, summons wardens, and I determined it was all over for me in this beautiful Fortnite world. Luckily, it turns out that wardens only spawn on the 4th consecutive shrieking, so I was plenty safe. I found some more diamonds, crafted them into armor, and got the Cover Me in Diamonds achievement. Satisfied with my yield, I finished up by mining some obsidian with my diamond pickaxe. Bruh. This was a slow process, but necessary for another portal and enchantment table. I successfully navigated my way back out of the cave, which was at the base of a mountain. I scaled that mountain to find a village, which I immediately determined would be my home for the rest of this challenge. Being in a village is ideal for ensuring the freedom of the villagers. Also, librarians sell enchanted books, which tend to be powerful. I then built another portal right outside of the village and entered in, getting 2 achievements for it, one being in the Minecraft tab, the other in the Nether tab. I wanted to find a fortress, so of course I found a bastion first. Not letting this deter me, I started slaughtering endermen trapped in boats. I found a bunch of endermen having a party, which I quickly disassembled, and after about 40 endermen, I finally had enough ender pearls to confidently go to the end and beat the Ender Dragon, which is a very natural goal this early in the game. I finally found a fortress, granting me the A Terrible Fortress achievement. I then killed blazes, getting blaze rods and consequently the Into Fire achievement. Additionally, I displayed some stellar efficiency by shooting a blaze with a crossbow, getting the Take Aim and Old Betsy achievements simultaneously. As I headed back to the portal, I entered a bastion remnant I had seen earlier, which gave me Those Were the Days. I had no intentions of dying to a swarm of piglin brutes, so I quickly left and went back to the overworld. Now that I had all the materials needed to find and activate the end portal, I wanted to make sure I wasn't ill-prepared, so I got the Enchanter achievement from enchanting my armor, and got What a Deal by trading for arrows with a villager. I also made sure I had rockets for once I found an elytra, so that I could fly around the end easily. I threw an Eye of Ender to help guide the way, and set off on a journey. I found some doggies on the way that I couldn't tame because I didn't have bones. But then immediately after, I found an exposed mob spawner with bones in the chest. So I turned right around and tamed one to get best friends forever. However, as time would tell, the forever part might be a bit exaggerated. I continued on my way, with a puppy now by my side, and found a woodland mansion. However, I had my eyes set on the prize, and skipped right over it, continuing on my way to the stronghold. The Eyes of Ender ended up pointing to somewhere in the middle of an ocean, so I dug down and found the stronghold, getting the I Spy achievement. After a bit of searching, I found a glitched mob spawner, and right by that, the end portal room, which I filled with Eyes of Ender and entered in. Similarly to the Nether, you get 2 achievements from entering the end, one in the Minecraft tab, and the other in the end tab of the achievements page. I took down the end crystals one by one, and chipped away at the dragon's health with my sword and bow, until I got the Free the End achievement, which, effectively, is beating the game. However, I wasn't done. In fact, not even close. I was only about 1/4 of the way done with achievements, with them only getting harder from here. Instead of heading directly home, I grabbed the dragon egg for the next generation achievement, and built up and entered the end gateway for a remote getaway. I spawned right by an end city with an end ship, which is incredibly lucky because sometimes they can be very tedious to find an elytra. I entered into the city to get the city at the end of the game, and then built up to the end ship. In the end ship, there's a brewing stand, which I opened and grabbed a potion out of to get local brewery. I also grabbed the elytra for Sky's the Limit. I looted the rest of the end city with my newfound elytra, and found various other end cities to loot, so that I had a good amount of diamond tools, armor, and elytras before leaving. I also cheated the otherwise difficult achievement, Great View from Up Here, by getting hit by a shulker up high, and interpearling to the ground, convincing the game I floated up 50 blocks from shulker levitation. This marked the end of my achievement getting in the end for now, so after I was stacked in equipment, I returned to the village, which I call home. When I returned, I decided to go after some of the advancements in the Nether tab. So, using a lodestone that I found in a ruined portal chest, I got Country Loads Take Me Home by using a compass on it. Then, I decided that if I was going to get any further in this run, it's probably best not to die. So I went to the nearby woodland mansion to look for evokers that I could get totems of undying from. Ideally, we don't have to use any other than for the achievement post-mortal, but it's good to have a second chance in hardcore Minecraft. I restocked on fireworks, and went to the Nether to achieve more from that category. As I was flying around, I got hot tourist destinations when I entered into a Soul Sand Valley. I tried shooting back gassed fireballs to earn Return to Sender for a while. Eventually, this blind squirrel found a nut, and I got it. I then found a Soul Sand Valley fortress, which spawns the most wither skeletons, so I stopped by that I might be able to gather 3 wither skeleton skulls with my new looting sword rather quickly. But then this happened. I literally got 2 wither skeleton skulls from one swing, which also gave me the spooky scary skeleton achievement. I don't know what the chances of that are, but I don't think it'll ever happen to me again. Anyways, I soon found my 3rd, which is all I needed. Thrilled with my luck, I returned to the overworld to fight the Wither. A troop of pillagers was waiting for me, who I quickly disbanded and got the achievement Voluntary Exile from killing the pillager captain. I then dug down to bedrock and dug a long 2x1 tunnel so that I could fit in it, but the Wither would have to break its way through to get to me. However, when I spawned it in, hitting Withering Heights, there must have been some growl or something above it because the Wither instantly lit up and out of sight, making fighting it a pain. Regardless, I managed to kill it using some clever melee tactics, largely because I also just forgot a bow. But I grabbed the Wither Star and returned to the surface to craft it into a beacon. As I was getting obsidian for the beacon, I also grabbed some crying obsidian from a ruined portal to get Who is Cutting Onions. Talk about efficiency. Now unfortunately, the footage of me crafting and placing the beacon got corrupted, so you won't be able to watch me get the Bring Home the Beacon achievement. But here's the proof that I got it. And if you were wondering what it looked like, it went a little something like this.
Wow.
Next on my agenda was to go loot Bastion remnants, as they give a lot of gold blocks, netherite, and netherite upgrade templates, which are needed for a multitude of achievements. However, they are perhaps the most dangerous place in Minecraft, with the possible exception of trial chambers. So I decided to first get a few random achievements while getting even better gear before tackling this project. As I was flying around, I found an igloo, which I went down into and started healing the zombie villager, which is an achievement. However, I didn't stay long enough for the process to complete, so I'll get it another time. I then gathered a bunch of wood in hopes of trading to Fletchers for emeralds, and then turning those emeralds into enchanted books with Unbreaking 3, Mending, or other enchantments that are needed for good armor and weapons. At this point, I realized I hadn't planted anything yet, so I quickly tilled some dirt and planted a seed to get a seedy place, just for fun. I added the enchanted books I traded for to my gear, and headed into the Nether. When I entered my first bastion, I opened a chest for the War Pigs achievement. I then also found some ancient debris in the chest, giving me Hidden in the Depths, but I failed to grab the snout armor trim, which I also would need later for an achievement. I made piglins forget how much they hate me by flaunting my wealth, giving me the Oh Shiny achievement. And as I continued looting bastions, one after another, I built another nether portal that was far enough away from the portal I entered in at, giving me subspace bubble when I went through it. I re-entered the Nether and quickly proved my earlier statement that bastions are the most dangerous place in Minecraft by accidentally popping a totem to some relentless brutes. At least I got the post-mortal achievement. However, I had all I needed, so I returned home, absolutely gushing with riches. I went to the Woodland Mansion again in hopes of finding another Totem of Undying, but finding none, I decided to start a raid so that I could get another one. Besides, Here of the Village is an achievement. So I started a raid, and while I did get some totems, villagers were too incompetent to take shelter, and they all ended up dying before I got Here of the Village.
Bruh.
But not before I killed a pillager with a crossbow, getting Who's the Pillager Now? Now at this point, I realized I only had 2 Minecraft tab achievements left, so I went and got a bucket of lava for hot stuff, and then flew to the igloo and waited for the zombie villager to be fully cured, getting Zombie Doctor and completing the Minecraft tab of achievements. I then used my wealth of gold blocks to fully power Beacon, getting Beaconator, and then crafted and charged a respawn anchor to get not quite 9 lives. I also made Warped Fungus on a Stick, saddled up a Strider, and got the This Boat Has Legs achievement. Once in the overworld again, I smelted my riches into netherite, which I used to create a full set of netherite armor, getting me the Cover Me in Debris achievement. With my new knockback resistant armor, I went caving in hopes to find a geode. I needed amethyst crystals to make a spyglass for a couple of achievements. I found a lush caves biome while searching, and I scooped up an axolotl in a bucket for the cutest predator achievement. Then, somehow I found a trial chamber without a map, so I quickly entered for the Minecraft Trials Edition achievement, noted the coordinates, and continued with my search. 3 stacks of diamonds in a trial chamber later, I finally found a geode, got some amethyst, and headed back up. As luck would have it, I found another one on my way up, but what else would you expect? Now I only had 2 more achievements in the end tab, both of which required respawning the Ender Dragon, so I went around gathering materials to make end crystals to do so. While I was killing gas for gas tiers, I looked through my new spyglass to get Is It a Balloon? I then crafted the end crystals and went to the end portal. Once I was in the end, I placed the 4 crystals like this, getting the End Again achievement. This was shortly followed by viewing the Ender Dragon through a spyglass for Is It a Plane, and then picking up some Dragon's Breath in a bottle for You Need a Mint. I decided to stand in the Dragon's Breath for literally no reason, popping another totem, but finished the Ender Dragon fight without any more hiccups and headed home to complete some more achievements. When I got back, I hopped in a boat and floated with a goat on a nearby mountain, getting whatever floats your goat. I then used leather boots for literally their only purpose by not sinking into powdered snow, getting light as a rabbit. I then crafted some iron blocks and made an iron golem out of them and a pumpkin, getting the hired help achievement. Apparently, Minecraft now has bookshelves that give out redstone signals, so I crafted one, and after a little fiddling with the comparator, got the power of books. Continuing this streak, I grabbed the best music disc, Pigstep, and a jukebox, and headed to a meadow to make the flowers come alive, getting the sound of music. I then went over to where I dug down to fight the wither, added some water at the bottom, built up to max height right next to it, and free fell all the way from max height to bedrock, getting the Caves and Cliffs achievement. Another new addition since I had played last were auto-crafters, which might really come in handy if you have half an ounce of creativity, but I simply used one to craft another auto-crafter for the achievement, getting Crafters Crafting Crafters. I set up a basic redstone switch to help me get bullseye, which I swear is impossible without this trick. I loaded up the trapdoor with arrows, went far enough away, and flicked the lever to get bullseye. I then decided to pursue some archaeology, making a brush and heading to a nearby ocean to brush some suspicious blocks, which are found around ocean ruins. I brushed and brushed until I found a pottery sherd, giving me the Respect the Remnants achievement. I continued brushing, finding more pottery sherds and a sniffer egg, which gave me the Smells Interesting achievement. I also found a buried treasure, which gave me a Heart of the Sea, which is a key ingredient to the hardest achievement in the game. I returned home with enough pottery sherds to craft into decorated pottery, giving me Careful Restoration. I continued my rapid fire achievement getting with Glow and Behold, using a glowing sack on a sign with text. It was at this point that I realized I hadn't really done anything in the Husbandry tab yet, so I switched my attention to that and tried to get total bee location. However, I couldn't find a hive with 3 bees in it, so I brought 2 back to my base, put a campfire under one of them, and extracted honey to get Be Our Guest. I then waited for a hive to have 3 bees in it, and Silk touched it to get total bee location. I extracted honey out of a few more hives, and crafted it into a honey block. I then used this honey block to catch my fall, getting Sticky Situation. I followed this up by continuing my husbandry focus, breeding some chickens for the parrots and the bats. I found another beehive, this time using it for the honeycomb, and I applied it to a copper block for wax on, and stripped off the wax using an axe for wax off. I crafted a fishing rod, cast it into a river, and got fishy business when I caught a fish. I then jumped into the river and caught a fish using a bucket, getting tactical fishing. I had also never used armor trims before, despite them being in the game for a while now, so I used the spire template I found in an end city to make some custom armor, getting crafting a new look. Wolf armor is another banger addition to Minecraft, so I found out how to make it and went to the local acacia biome to brush some scutes off of armadillos, getting Isn't it Scute? Using these scutes, I crafted wolf armor and applied it to my dog, who was waiting patiently where I last left him. I used a pair of shears to remove it, getting Shear Brilliance, but I still had to repair wolf armor for the last related achievement. So I went and got more scutes, but after punching my dog way too many times, and repairing the armor in an anvil to no avail, I figured out that you just have to click on the armor while holding a scute. Bruh. This gave me good as new. Next, I traveled over to a swamp. Swamps have frogs, and they spawn slimes at night, which are needed to breed frogs. However, they also have black cats, which I tamed with some fish. You also need to tame all 11 cat variants for an achievement, so this was a good start. After one night in the swamp, I bred frogs, who laid eggs. As soon as the eggs hatched into tadpoles, I kidnapped them, getting Bucket Bucket. On the way back, I saw some pandas in a jungle, which I bred for convenience's sake. After all, I will need to breed all animals for an achievement. The next hour or so was spent raising tadpoles in different biomes, then transporting them into the Nether so that they could eat magma cubes. It was tedious, especially because frogs take fall damage. But I eventually got all 3 frog variants, put them on a lead for when the squad hops into town, and transferred them into the Nether by Basalt Delta so that they could, well, do whatever this is to them. This was such a tedious process, in fact, that I stopped by a desert to breed some camels. Okay. And I stopped by a pillager outpost that had a trapped allay, freed it, and taught it to be my slave to earn "You've got a friend in me." I finally finished up getting all 3 frog-like colors, getting With Our Powers Combined. Before returning home, I decided to shoot a skeleton from far away, getting sniper duel. I then decided I was enjoying this challenge way too much, so I decided to try to get Uneasy Alliance, where you kill a ghast in the overworld. I decided to try to build a giant ghast catching room in the side of a cliff, with one wall being a nether portal, so that if one spawned, I could easily lure it into the portal. However, I tried it, waited for a bit, but nothing spawned. Next, I tried to shoot arrows at a ghast as I was going through a portal, kind of cheating the achievement, but this also didn't work. Now to make this achievement easy, the first thing you need to do is trap a ghast. Therefore, you'd think when I found a trapped ghast, it would be easy to... well, I guess not. Then, I went back to my roots, building a giant portal and an open space, grabbing a couple fishing rods, and tediously trying to fish them into the portal. This also didn't work, and when I almost died, I decided it was time to try something else. So I went back to the room that I'd built, which again, didn't work. Shocker. Then I started trying to trap a ghast again, this time using a minecart, but again, it didn't work. To ease my pain, I realized it was thundering one time that I went through a portal, so I quickly traveled back to home base, where I had installed a lightning rod on top of a villager house. Soon, I got Surge Protector, but since I didn't have a channeling trident yet, this thunderstorm meant nothing more, so I returned to trying Uneasy Alliance. Once again, I got extremely lucky, finding another trapped ghast, but when I tried to kill it by timing it with TNT, once again, I threw it all away and failed. Disappointed, I returned to the room I built, which again, didn't work. However, as I left, I saw another ghast, which this time I successfully trapped in a minecart. After some hard thinking, I built a portal, went into it, and killed the ghast from the overworld by shooting an arrow into the portal, tricking the game into thinking that I brought the ghast into the overworld and killed it there, getting Uneasy Alliance. When I found a lava lake with striders, I built a portal and ended up in a cave with lava pools, which made what I was planning much easier. I built a 50 block long trail of lava through the cave, and watch this. Diamond! Unfortunately, the footage corrupted, but basically, I got the achievement Feels Like Home for doing this. After a successful nether trip, I returned home to a fully grown sniffer, who sniffed up pitcher pods, which I planted for the Planting the Past achievement. I then decided I was ready to explore the trial chamber I had found earlier, as they are needed for a whole host of achievements. When I got there, I axed off the oxidation on a copper lamp for a lighten up, and then managed to kill a breeze by deflecting one of its wind charges, getting blowback. I opened up one of the smaller vaults, getting under lock and key, and then opened up a big boy vault, getting revaulting. Although I didn't find a heavy core for a mace, it was a successful trip, and I returned home. I used wind charges to launch myself high into the air, coupled with a well-timed jump, giving me the Who Needs Rockets achievement. Then, I realized I hadn't even made the most important tool in the game, so I went and found one more ancient debris so that I could make a diamond hoe and upgrade it to netherite, getting serious dedication. I then continued hunting random achievements, such as this one. You have to train in LA to pick up a cake and take it to a note block, which gives you birthday song. I then realized that I needed to breed sniffers as well, but I only had one. That means I needed to find another egg. So, I did what anyone would do, and started looking for them where they literally just don't spawn. They only spawn in warm ocean ruins, but warm oceans are kind of rare, so I just wasted about 30 minutes of searching. While searching, I found a jungle and spied on a parrot using a spyglass, giving me, is it a bird? I also decided to breed ocelots when I saw one, but these quick little things are quite the challenge. So I trapped them both in boats and forced them to have a kid for my benefit. Warm ocean ruins are pretty rare, so while I continued searching, I also gathered sugarcane, bred animals, and tamed cats and dogs, hoping to get some of the more time-consuming achievements simultaneously. And I didn't know you could breed bees, but man, look at that thing, it's so cute. I discovered a mushroom island, but literally just forgot to breed the mushrooms. Efficiency 100. After a while of exploring, I got a complete catalog, followed soon by the whole pack. To top off a successful mission, I finally found warm ocean ruins and that much needed second sniffer egg. I then realized that I was only a few monsters away from killing every one, So I killed a Guardian, Elder Guardian, Creaking, Endermite, and Zogler, monsters hunted. I enchanted a crossbow with Piercing 4 so that I could get the 2 achievements that need a piercing crossbow, and that night killed 2 birds with 1 arrow. I then got Arbalest by killing 5 unique mobs with 1 shot, with some questionable ethics. I then built a water channel to max height, but the footage of me getting Star Trader corrupted. However, all I did was trade sticks with a villager at the build limit, like so. I went to the ancient city under my base and grabbed a Sculpt Catalyst, placed it near a mob, and killed the mob to get It Spreads. I scrolled through achievements until I decided to try and get smithing with style. I only had 2 of the 8 armor trims used, so I started searching for the rest. One was the Vex armor trim, which means I need to burn down this mansion in hopes of finding hidden chests. By now, my second sniffer grew up, so I bred them, getting another egg. I immediately returned to armor trim hunting, and went and killed Elder Guardians until I got the Tide armor trim. Then, I had to return to brushing suspicious gravel, but this time in trail ruins, which I found relatively easily. However, luck was not lucking, and it took me far more than 12 or so tries to get Wayfinder, which I found in my second trail ruins. I went back to the mansion to find an exposed chest with a Vex armor trim in it. There's no way that actually worked. I went and found the aforementioned Snout armor trim in a bastion, and then went and started looting ancient cities, as that was where the last 2 armor trims are found. The Ward armor trim I found relatively quickly, but it turns out that the Silence armor trim is like the rarest item in the game, with only a 1.2% chance of spawning in a chest in an ancient city, which is quite tedious to loot without insta-dying to a warden. Since I only had 1 armor trim to go, I changed courses and started looting trial chambers, which I found by trading for maps with cartographers. I got extremely lucky and found a heavy core in just my second trial chamber, so I returned home, made a mace, and over killed my dog. Well, other dog. I gotta stop doing that. I looted another ancient city to no avail, and then teamed up with an axolotl I found to kill a squid, getting the healing power of friendship, because apparently they give you regeneration in that situation. I then pursued perhaps my favorite achievement, a balanced diet, and started eating every consumable item. After a little hunting and gathering, I got a balanced diet, and literally immediately after, got adventuring time from this pesky biome called Windswept Gravelly Hills. I then shifted my focus to breeding animals full time, where I bred axolotls and foxes, which are another tough animal to breed. This time, I coaxed them into water, and then trapped them in boats and forced them to have kids for my benefit. Then, by sheer luck, I got a trident from killing a drowned, which ultimately led to a throwaway joke. Finally, I bred mushrooms and soon thereafter llamas for 2x2. I went home, enchanted my trident with channeling, and with a stroke of luck, it started thundering so that I struck a villager with lightning, turning it into a witch, getting very frightening. I realized that there was a hidden achievement, so I hatched the 3rd sniffer egg and fed it torchflower seeds that its parent sniffed up for little sniffs. I tried my luck at a raid again, and this time, the villagers survived long enough for me to get Hero of the Village. With only 3 achievements left, I decided it was time to bite the bullet and find the Silence armor trim, which I did in about 5 ancient cities. The chest that I found it in was perhaps the luckiest chest I've ever found, with 2 enchanted golden apples accompanying it. Finally, I applied it to my armor for smithing with style. Now, there were only 2 achievements left, a Furious Cocktail and How Did We Get Here? A Furious Cocktail only requires every potion effect it wants, so I brewed every potion and drank them for a Furious Cocktail. Relatively easy, right? However, How Did We Get Here also requires the non-potion effects to be applied at once, such as Darkness, Levitation, Haste, Dolphin's Grace, Conduit Power, Raid Omen, Trial Omen, Bad Omen, Glowing, Blindness, Nausea, absorption, wither, and hero of the village. This requires an extensive setup, so finding a good place is important. Notably, you want a mountain adjacent to an ocean that is near spawn. This makes getting the dolphin, mining fatigue, and the shulker easier. You need a mountain so that there are naturally generating skulk streakers down there that can give darkness. I found an ideal specimen of a mountain, and went to get iron for rails for transporting the shulker to the mountain. And no, I don't build farms. I then went to the end and, with a lot of trial and error, managed to push a shulker into the overworld. I dug down to where I wanted to try and get this achievement, trapped a dolphin that I named Gugs, and then realized I needed a wither rose, so I went and got more wither skeleton skulls, made the wither blow up some chickens, killed the wither, and collected the wither roses. I started setting up the railroad track, but needed more iron, again. I transported the shulker using a furnace minecart, the most useful item in the game. When I got it to the skulk shrieker, it kept teleporting where I didn't want it, so I kept digging out more and more until I realized that I could just keep it in a minecart. I got a rough setup based on what I thought would work, and then kidnapped a villager so I could get raid omen, because it only lasts for 30 seconds, and the villager needs to be nearby. I also grabbed the beacon from my base so that I could set it up for haste by the shrieker. I made some suspicious stew from azure bluettes, which give blindness, and I also used my Heart of the Sea and 8 nautilus shells to craft and place a conduit, which will give me conduit power. Then, Gugs died, and after a bit of mourning, I replaced him with Gugs 2. I set up a potion dispenser so it was easy to get all the potion effects, and then went and looted trial chambers for bad omen bottles, which are needed for bad omen, raid omen, trial omen, and also just getting hero of the village in the first place. I left with enough bad omen, but also a couple of tridents that I didn't know you could get from trial chambers. It was time for my first attempt. I got hero of the village. I got trial omen. I got mining fatigue. And then I stood too close to the potion dispenser and it didn't even splash me. But I reloaded and tried again. Then I accidentally drank suspicious stew instead of bad omen. But I reloaded and tried again. And I was finally able to not even get close because glowing in darkness went away too quickly, and infested made it hard to get under the trapdoor. It was time to redesign. I killed my villager so the raid ended, replaced him, and moved the dolphin accordingly. I then turned very big brain and decided to automate getting shot by the glowing arrow, and made getting darkness happen after levitation. With this new design, I gathered materials for my second attempt. I got hero of the village. I got trial omen. I got mining fatigue. And I tried again. And again I failed, but I was actually pretty close. It turns out that I needed a couple more seconds of regeneration, which means using a potion instead of relying on an enchanted golden apple, but I also just barely missed the timing with Dolphin's Grace as well. Also, tragically, Gugs 2 died, so I replaced him with Gugs 3. Then I reloaded, and tried again. I got hero of the village. I got trial omen. I got mining fatigue. And then I popped the totem trying to milk a cow before attempting, which reset all my effects. So I reloaded. I got Hero of the Village. I got Trial Omen. I got Mining Fatigue. And I tried again. Okay, why am I even pretending at this point? Of course I didn't get it. I ran out of Dolphin's Grace a split second before getting my last effect. However, these shortcomings led to a fatal error. I decided to start eating the suspicious stew and pufferfish before hitting darkness, which for some reason made it impossible to swim afterwards, making dipping down to the Shrieker impossible, as well as just getting Dolphin's Grace in the first place. So I tried like 4 more times using this method, and none of them worked, of course. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, and expecting different results. Sun Tzu, The Art of War. I finally did some experimenting and realized it was impossible to swim after eating. So after a quick simplification, I tried again. I got Hero of the Village. I got Trial Omen. I got Mining Fatigue. And I tried again. And I got it. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe if you'd like to see more. If you have any suggestions for what I could have done better, or for future video ideas, leave them in the comment section below. Thanks for watching.